Most of us don't live our own story. We live the script written by others. But what if you could take the pen back? That's exactly what Emily Parker did. Emily Parker was 28 years old and living in a small one-bedroom apartment in Chicago. By day, she worked as a content writer for a marketing company. The job paid her bills, but inside she carried a secret dream. She wanted to be an author. She wanted to write a book that could inspire people, something that could light a spark in someone else's life. But here was the problem. For 5 long years, she hadn't managed to finish even one story. Every time she opened her laptop, her fingers would hover over the keyboard. Her chest would tighten. Her mind would go blank. And then that familiar inner voice would creep in. Who do you think you are, Emily? There are thousands of better writers. Your words aren't special. You're wasting your time. That voice wasn't new. It had been haunting her for years. When she was 14, her English teacher had handed her essay back, covered in red ink, and said in front of the whole class, "This is nonsense, Emily. You're not a writer." At 17, when she shared her dream with a friend, he laughed and said, "A book? You? Come on, you'll quit halfway like always." And when she was 21, sitting at the dinner table, she finally gathered the courage to tell her parents she wanted to be a writer. Her father's words still stung like a wound. "Writing isn't a career. It's a hobby. Be practical." Emily didn't cry that night, but something inside her broke. Those words became her inner voice. They played like a broken record in her head, until eventually she started believing them. Now, at 28, she was exhausted. Tired of dreaming, tired of doubting, tired of failing. One chilly Saturday afternoon, Emily wandered into a small second-hand bookstore in her neighborhood. She always loved the smell of old pages, the quietness of shelves stacked with forgotten stories. As she browsed, she heard someone say softly behind her, "Beautiful stories don't just come from talent, they come from healing." Startled, Emily turned. Standing there was an older woman in her 60s. Her name was Margaret. She owned the little bookstore. They began to talk. At some point, Margaret asked, "So, what do you do?" Emily hesitated. Her throat tightened. Finally, she whispered, "I'm a writer. Well, I try to be. But honestly, I don't think I'm good enough." Margaret smiled gently, the kind of smile that made you feel safe. "You know," she said, "we all carry a script in our minds, a kind of silent movie. And most of the time, it wasn't written by us. It was written by other people, by teachers, parents, friends, strangers." Emily frowned. "What do you mean?" Margaret walked to the counter, pulled out an old leather notebook, and placed it in Emily's hands. "Come back tomorrow," she said. "I want to show you something." The next day, Emily returned. Margaret opened the notebook. Inside, there were 2 columns of sentences. On one side, it said things like, "You're not smart enough. You're going to fail. Nobody cares about your story." On the other side, it read, "I'm learning. My story matters. I don't need to be perfect to begin. My voice deserves to be heard." Margaret looked at Emily and said, "These are 2 scripts. One is written by fear and other people's opinions. The other is written by hope and self-belief. For too long, you've been living the first script, Emily, but you can choose to write the second one." Something inside Emily clicked. For years, she had been trying to write stories for the world, but she had forgotten to rewrite the story inside her own mind. From that day on, Emily started a new practice. Every morning before work, she opened her journal and wrote down 5 sentences. I am a writer. My voice matters. I will write, even if I feel scared. I have permission to grow slowly. I believe in my story. At first, it felt silly, forced, but slowly, something shifted. Emily began writing small stories again, not for a publisher, not for approval, but just for herself. And whenever that cruel inner voice whispered again, she answered back, "That's the old script. I'm writing a new one now." 1 year later, Emily finally did it. She self-published her first short story collection online. She called it Rewrite the Script. It didn't make her rich. It didn't become a bestseller overnight, but it touched people. Messages began pouring in. Students, young moms, overworked employees, people who had almost given up on their dreams. They wrote to her, saying her book gave them the courage to try again. One afternoon, Emily returned to Margaret's bookstore. She hugged her mentor tightly and said with tears in her eyes, "I never thought I could change, but I did." Margaret smiled and whispered, "You didn't change who you are, Emily. You simply took the pen back and started writing your own story." Here's the truth. Sometimes the loudest voice holding us back is the one inside our own head. A single cruel comment can echo in our minds for years. But those words don't have to define us. You are not the voice of your past. You are the author of your future. So ask yourself today, whose script are you living? Is it one written by fear or by hope? Because you have the power to pause, reflect, and rewrite your story, word by word, thought by thought. And maybe your next chapter could be the most beautiful one yet. If Emily's journey inspired you, don't just click away. Do something for yourself right now. Hit that like button if you believe in second chances. Subscribe for more stories that remind you how powerful you really are. And in the comments, type, "My new chapter starts today." Who knows? Maybe your words will inspire someone else who needs the courage to rewrite their script too. Thank you for listening. Stay strong, stay hopeful, and remember, your story isn't over yet.